I'm probably going to upset a lot of people by saying this, but last year I watched Star Trek The Next Generation. And I have to say, the first seasons, I found them to be incredibly cringe. I found them to be lacking. There's a lot of plot holes. There's a lot of inconsistencies. A lot of the decisions that Picard is making really bothers me. So I was wondering, like, why did so many people like Star Trek back then? Like, what did it have that it made people overlook the cringe, and they managed to stay towards the later seasons, which actually do become more interesting? And the answer to this is the foresight. Like, they have managed to predict so much cool shit. In an age where people had telephones with cords attached, Star Trek not only managed to predict the iPhone, not only managed to predict communication without cords, they even managed to predict shit that we just got recently, and that is AI. So a lot of people were watching Star Trek, imagining themselves like how cool it would be to live in a future where you have access to all this technology. And while we don't have replicators yet, or teleportation or space travel, almost everything else that at the time looked like science fiction, we do manage to get today. And so when you watch Star Trek today, it's kind of meh. Like, it's not that utopian universe that would attract you. Because that was the thing, you know, like, you'd watch Star Trek back then, and you'd be like, wow, it would be so cool to live in that world. It would be so cool to have access to all that technology, to just have, like, a phone in your hand, and you're, like, looking through it, and you can access all the knowledge of mankind. Yeah, we can do that now. Sorta, kinda, but still. And so, when Star Trek Discovery came out, I was legitimately curious to see, like, what other technology are they going to predict? Like, what are they going to say about the world from 2100? And the thing that they predicted is that women are going to have man names. Like, that is true. They were really happy in their marketing campaign. Like, they really insisted on this. That the main character is a black woman and her name is Michael Byrne. And they were like, yeah, in the future, there is no more gender. No more gender. Like a Michael Burnham. And it was so fucking weird. Like, when you're watching the first episodes and everyone calls him Michael or Burnham, it's like, what the fuck? It's just like immersion breaking. It's like, oh, American, identity politics. Identity politics. Is this the show where they also got, what was it? A Democrat? I don't even. Yeah, I think it was, right. Like, they got a sitting Democrat, like, to play as the president of Earth. Holy shit. Anyway, apparently it was entirely erased from canon. From fucking canon. And so, imagine how bad must it have been. I only managed to watch one season of it. I even did a review on my channel. Like, I was reviewing all the episodes. And my take on it, it was that, like, it genuinely had potential. Like, the first season, I unironically was suffering through it. Like, it had its ups and downs. It had an episode that was like, well, okay, like, this is really good. I like it. And then the next episode would be a cringe fest. But I would keep watching because I was like, well, maybe the next episode is good again. Like, for instance, the whole theme with the Dark Federation. I really like that. Like, apparently, there's an alternative universe where the Federation is an empire ruled by Earth, and they're quote-unquote evil. They're not evil, they're just cynical, pragmatic, you know, like the way you actually start an empire. And the thing that I like the most is that in the original universe, the Klingons were getting the Federation shit kicked in, because the Federation was operating with kid gloves, and they were refusing to do what needs to be done. And so, in the end, they got the Admiral from the evil Federation to show them how to do proper warfare. And the bitch actually delivers. Like she immediately just takes control over the Navy, she does what needs to be done, and they manage to win. If I remember correctly, there may be like a couple of twists and turns. It's been like years since I watched it. But like, overwhelmingly, the first season was okay. Like, alright, you know, like, there's a lot of cringe in it. There's a lot of identity politics in it. They made a lot of changes. It's not Star Trek. right? Like Star Trek is usually talks around the water cooler. Meanwhile, this Star Trek was like, oh my god, lasers, pew, 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 pew. You know, it's like, okay, fine. But overall, it's like, it's got a story that it got sued for because apparently it stole it from somewhere. I don't know how that lawsuit went. But season 2, my fucking god. Season 2 I couldn't watch. I genuinely could not watch season 2. It was so fucking bad. So fucking bad. The entire premise of season 2, like in the first episode, or the second, I forgot which, the whole memo is that mansplaining is bad. Like if in the first Star Trek you get knowledge, you know, like the difference of civilizations, how technology affect us, the fight for resources, you know, like at least they're trying to tell you something philosophical. In Star Trek Discovery Season 2, mansplaining is bad. You have like this guy, which I think he outranks Michael Burnham or something. But she's just like saying, oh, you shouldn't fly at high speed through a meteor storm. And he goes like, fuck you, lady, I do what I want. And he dies. And the whole scene is like having, I think it was like 2 or 3 women and that guy. And you know, the guy dies. And I was like watching the episode and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, are they not a military? Do they not have professional standards? Do they not have like guidelines how to fly through? Like, nothing was making sense from a universe perspective. And then I read the documentaries from the, sorry, not the documentaries, the talk show with the production team. And they're like, yeah, we wanted to send a strong message about mansplaining. It's like, okay, you're not going to send another message with my money, bitch. Bitch. If you don't like mansplaining, you don't like man money. And I took my man money, and I never watched or bought anything Star Trek again. And so now I get the article that the entire series was removed from canon. Alright. This is something new. I've never seen anything like this. What was it like? There was another Star Trek that people didn't like. I think it was the one where you had the female Vulcan. Star Trek Enterprise, right? Like, even that was considered bad, but like people didn't remove it from canon. And so here we are. I do think that the pendulum is swinging. I do think that a lot of people are realizing that, okay, these IPs were cultural phenomenons around the world, and we just gave the keys to our golden goose to people that are mistreating the goose. And the goose is no longer laying eggs. The goose is traumatized. And so now they're probably thinking like, do we even have professional writers anymore? Do we even have people that are capable of coming up with good stories? And I don't think they do. Like in order for that to happen, you would first need to deregulate the entertainment industry. Like you're at a point, and I'm telling you this as a content creator, you're at a point where the entertainment industry is hyper-regulated. You're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to talk about that. You're not allowed to show this. You're not allowed to show that. You can't create art in this manner. Just like the European Union can't become energetically independent. Too much regulations! Drop the fucking regulations! It's not rocket science. And the second thing is, like, once you drop the regulations... And by the way, just so you know what I mean by dropping the regulations... There was a horror movies in the 90s, which people are talking about on Twitter right now, where a serial killer inhabits the body of a snowman. And there's a scene where he goes in a bathroom and he rapes a woman with his carrot. It's not explicit, it's not shown on screen, but like it's implied. You would never get something like this on TV. That was in Hollywood, that was like in a big cinema on a big fucking screen. Why? Because people weren't afraid to take fucking risks. It's like anything goes. Just make something. It's a horror movie. Creep people out. Do some shit that makes people feel uncomfortable. It's a fucking horror movie. And so they did. And this is why we're talking about this shit in 2024. I'm just saying, you know, same with anime. Like anime is taking risks. Oh, a kid got hit by a bus. Now he's in an isekai world. And he's like, well, he's like 15, but he's attracted to tits because he's a man in a kid's body, and people feel uncomfortable. Postal, again, another thing. It's, GTA. All this shit was done to make you feel unfucking comfortable. And so my point is, look, you don't have to go to that. You don't have to be Game of Thrones and show actual tits on screen. But everything is so hyper-regulated to the point where you can't make stuff that used to work in the past. People freak out. You cannot have art with so many regulations. You cannot have art if instead of trying to understand the world, you're just saying, oh yeah, like fucking pronouns, like Michael Burnham is the name, and then you build a story around that. Instead of trying to build a story around the technology, around different aliens, around different cultures, trying to innovate, make shit that's interesting. Literally everything in Hollywood was like the Michael Burnham stuff. It's like in the future, gender is going to be abolished. That is the next step in humanity's evolution. And almost all the fiction was focusing on that. Instead of like having fiction focus on different things. Like, okay, Star Trek is focusing on tricorders and teleportation, while Star Wars is focusing on lightsabers and other shit. Right? Like, now everything focuses about the gender. Everything was about the gender. And then you're watching one show and then you're watching another. It's almost like the same stuff. So I don't know if they can unfuck it. We'll see. But do let me know what you think. And I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.